Do you remember this one? That is the exact document Peter Omtzigt had under his arm when he came from one of his conversations with the scout, and on it said that he didn't want to be seated in a coalition with PVV and BBB. That would be a minority coalition. A lot of people thought it was a joke, that it referred to another situation, not with him, but at least that he did it on purpose. He said that he was not aware of it. And he might be right. Hi, my name is Phil. I live in the Netherlands, and we had elections not long ago. And we are now in the process of forming a coalition because one party is not capable of becoming that big that it has a majority in the parliament right away. Today, a report came out from the Scout, who has been talking to all the leaders of all parties and even has been talking with leaders in duos. He came out with a report today. It already has been leaking. You can find it out in my previous post. But and those leaks were right. But there are a few things that I like to tell you to give a bit more context. And yeah, there is one interesting thing in it, and that has to do with the beginning. Okay, Ronald Plasterk, the Scout, feels that a stable coalition can be formed with PVV, VVD, NSC and BBB. A few things need to happen though. Since there are a lot of questions still, and there is a lot of distrust, and there are three things they will need to talk about. The first thing is they need to talk about the Constitution, which is really weird. Why do you need to talk about the Constitution? Because Geert Willders has proposals in his program which are unconstitutional. For instance, he wants to prevent mosques from being built and the ones that already exist to be dismantled. That's unconstitutional because we have something like the freedom of religion. So, constitution is important, and that's also because I don't know what happened in those duo conversations, but I don't believe that Geert Willders has made clear what he means with that he will abide the Constitution. What does it mean for his program, and what does it mean for the things that he wants? The second thing that needs to be talked about are when that has been established, because that is really the base. If that base is not there, you don't need to continue. For the NSC, this is really important because they care about the trust the Dutch people have in their government. We had a big scandal a few years ago, and it is still not solved. There are still things happening that that you think like, how can it be? And that is not done by the government itself, but the government should have solved it, and it has been done by one of its institutions. In this case, it had to do with taxes. I might make a small special about it, but first I want to make a special about Geert Wilders, and that is because Geert Wilders is the party, literally. Technically, that party only has one member, and that's Geert Wilders. All the other members, all the other 36 sworn in members of the parliament are actually not members. I actually don't know what the law is saying about this, but apparently this is a construction that is okay. But we also know that Geert likes to have some control over what is happening, what people are doing, what they are saying. When one of the news outlets wanted to talk a little bit more and deeper with a few new members of the PVV who came into the parliament, that was denied by the headquarters, aka Geert Willders, I think. So I think that it is important to get to know the person Geert Wilders, not only in a political way, but in a somewhat deeper way, as in what are the causes of him creating a party and of him getting to this place with 37 seats. So that is the first thing I want to do. But again, back to where we started. So in the report, constitution, pressing topics like immigration, migration, and immigration, we are only talking about people who are looking for asylum or people who have asylum and want to let their family coming over. And those are normally, most of the time, they are Muslims. And that is a little percentage because we also have students and expats and Dutch people coming back. Although there is a difference between those two groups, because that small group, what we are talking about, which come in every year, is a group of people who are going to stay here. That is their intention. Where expats can move on, students, the same thing. Maybe people who come back to the Netherlands as well. I don't know. So we can't weigh them in the same way. But still, it is about, I believe, 11% when we look at last year. So immigration is a really big topic. Another really big topic is about the quality of our soil, and policies have been set out that will harm the farmers, as in they need to decrease their stock. And yeah, that has been a big discussion here in the Netherlands as well. So those are a few things that I'm just mentioning, what they need to talk about, what it is that they need to get some consensus in, and not themselves, but an informateur, that's what we call it, an informateur, is going to be appointed to get them through this process, for which they have a month and a half till February. And in February, maybe with the same informateur, which can be Ronald Plasterk, the scout as well, the real negotiations should start. And that informateur also needs to talk with other parties, because this coalition has a problem. They don't have a majority in the first chamber, the Senate. There are 75 seats there. I don't know how many seats um, they have in the first chamber, but Peter Omtzigt with NSC has none. The BBB has quite a bit, but it is not a majority. So that means that what they want needs to be shared by more parties in the parliament to make sure that it doesn't get cut off by the first chamber. First chamber is going to look at those bills and is going to say yes or no. They might invite people from the parliament to explain things or to elaborate on things, but they can't change it themselves. When it is no, it goes back to the second chamber, which politically in our country is uh, where the power is. That is because the Senate has no wiggle room. It's yes or no. So that informateur will need to talk to more parties. So it means that what is coming on the table and where those four parties need to get a consensus over also needs to be carried by other parties. I don't know if that is going to be a problem or not. We just need to find out. There are more parties who think like, who have ideas about certain topics where they can find agreement upon with the coalition. But also when they are going to become a majority within the second chamber, it gives power to certain parties, and that power depends on what it is about and how they feel about it. So it's a bit of an awkward situation. Okay, that's the second point. First we had constitution, then we had content, and the third is the structure. And there it becomes interesting, and it is to me not yet completely clear what it means, but at least what was written on that piece of paper, what Peter Omtzigt has written on that piece of paper is the truth. He would like a minority coalition, but he doesn't want to form a coalition with just the PVV and the BBB. So at least the VVD needs to be part of it. But in one of the news outlets I read that he is willing to support a right-wing party with PVV, VVD and BBB. We already know that the VVD also only wants to support, so that would leave two parties, the PVV and the BBB. Together, they would have 43 seats, or 44. I need to look that up because the day after the elections, those numbers can still change a little bit. But I think they have six seats, so that would make 43 seats out of the 150 seats is not even a third. And then it becomes really hard with such a minority to start to negotiate with other parties on every topic. When a minority coalition only needs a few votes or a few votes, then it could become interesting because in that case they have almost a majority for the votes that they want to have, but they need to find more votes. So the discussions within the chamber will become more open. And I already have said that I think that a minority coalition could work very well. And I've heard that that it is also Peter Omtzigt's idea. I just think that he feels that he shouldn't form a coalition with Geert Willders and the BBB because they are both pretty much in the more right spectrum than the NSC is, and we have the problem of the trust of people in the government. And Geert Wilders is a bit of a wild card. We don't know how he is going to stick to what is agreed upon in the coalition. There was an incident where Peter Omtzigt has been talking to the scout, saying that he had a lot of questions, where Geert Wilders afterwards said that they have been talking for over an hour at his chambers. And it turns out, and I didn't know that, but Peter Omtzigt didn't like that. He didn't like, he thought it was just a conversation between the two of them, and he makes it public. Okay, so the third point, the structure, can go with all the four parties, with two of them, with 3 of them, and depending on how the conversations will go, it will go one way or the other, or it will go no way, and then we will have new elections. This process will be conducted until February, and then the parties should be ready to have deeper conversations and start the negotiations. And even then, we don't know what the end result will be. It might still be that in a year times that we need to um, go voting again. Sorry about those. I call them my little Mickey Mouse ears, but I now use them for the sound because I think it is a little better than the iPad. I'm not quite sure, but I have been, and I already had those, but I have bought a few things to make it a bit better understandable and maybe a bit more professional. I don't know. I just started off with an iPad. Okay. So those 3 things need to be talked about when there is a green light or white smoke. Then they continue. Then still we need to wait what the result might be. So far, the report. I have been I have been watching the radio, so to speak. There is something in our society where people are afraid of which might add um, to the division in our culture, which becomes more and more and more clear. And that is that people feel like the establishment has a big say in what is going to happen. It's hard to say what the establishment is, but you could say that those are the parties who have been functioning in a certain way until now and has created a culture of how you deal with things. I think that that culture already has changed somewhat, not always for the better, but that might be the establishment. And the establishment is going to try to keep the PVV out of the coalition. So when this is not going to work, it might create more division in our country. But at the same time, if it is going to work and it will collapse, which is not unthinkable, since coalitions collapse more than in recently than previously, the last 2 decades. That is something that came up. More parties, because more parties in the parliament means you need more parties in the coalition, means that you have more chance that a coalition will collapse, especially when things are happening that you didn't foresee. So that might make the division in our country bigger. However, when they start off and it collapses, then it might goes two ways. Either all the four parties will be punished with the next election, because when a coalition collapses, it means that we will have new elections, or the same thing might happen when the parties can't form a coalition, and that is that the PVV is growing even more to make sure the right message is coming through. And that is that people want to get rid of that establishment, which they also see as untrustworthy and creating problems instead of solving them. There is somebody who worded it better than me, and that is what I heard on radio. And here it is.
De liefste eigenschap van de boze mensen vind ik dat ze na de verkiezingsuitslag zelf zijn gaan formeren. Ze tellen de zetels van PVV, Nieuw Sociaal Contract, BBB en VVD bij elkaar op en concluderen dat dat dus is wat het volk wil. Maar zo werkt het dus niet. Als je op de grootste partij hebt gestemd, betekent dit niet dat alle andere partijen moeten doen wat de grootste partij zegt. En het betekent ook niet dat een meerderheid, want de grootste partij zijn is iets anders dan in de meerderheid zijn, want de meerderheid is de helft plus 1, vindt wat jij ook vindt. Zo werkt het niet. Geert Wilders kan de grenzen niet sluiten. Geert Wilders kan mensen niet het land uitzetten. Geert Wilders kan het grootste deel van zijn beloften niet nakomen. Geert Wilders zal, zoals dat heet, water bij de wijn moeten doen. Een deel van zijn verkiezingsprogramma in de vrieskist zetten. Dingen die hij beloofd heeft niet na kunnen komen. En zelfs dan hoeven de andere partijen het daar niet mee eens te zijn. Er is nog geen regering. En dan nu het slechte nieuws. Die komt er ook niet. Er komt geen kabinet Wilders 1. Dat is achter de schermen zo afgesproken. Alle andere partijen en de omroepen en alle andere media hebben dat zo met elkaar afgesproken. Ze hebben Geert even laten tieren en laten hem nu in zijn eigen zure soep gaar koken. Hij mag aan de macht ruiken, maar elke keer als hij een hapje van wil nemen, trekken ze de koek weg, zodat hij achterblijft met een lege maag. Het zal uiteindelijk wel weer uitdraaien op nieuwe verkiezingen, waarbij Geert Wilders en de PVV weer niet de absolute meerderheid krijgen. Het is een complot. Uw opwinding is onderdeel van dat complot. Alles blijft bij het oude. Schik u in uw lot. Kijk om u heen. Dit is het maximale. BNN-Vara blijft altijd bestaan.
Okay, I hope I didn't break any copyright. I will leave the link below. When when this is not showing up, I will change it. Then you will need to work with the link itself. Don't forget to push the translator button, otherwise it will be all in Dutch. Okay, thank you for listening, and as always, I hope to see you next time when there is news again. I think it needs to sink in, and tomorrow, the day after, I might have a few things to say. I'll see you then. Bye.